Okay, welcome back. We're on day 6 of NaNoWriMo, and we are going to finally see how awful this play is that the happy play, whatever their names are, play bodies are conducting, and it should be gloriously awful, but we'll see how bad we can get it. Our target today is 1,000 words. That's going to be a little under, because I think right now on the NaNoWriMo site I have found that I'm actually even with about where I need to be for this time in the session. I really should probably make it about 1,500 to keep it over 10,000 words for the final, because that's going to put us, because we're at the 20% mark on the NaNoWriMo right now. But we'll see. I'm sure I'll go over 1,000, but 1,000 is our goal. All right, so let's see where we left off yesterday. Okay, so Jack shook his head. He couldn't believe Ernest was using this gimmick again. It didn't work out so well in Havana when people figured out that they had just one hat. Now they didn't even have that one hat, and they weren't sure where to get one on the island. That they wouldn't have to buy first. They weren't well known enough to get any charity from the locals, and Jack whispered this in Ernest's ear. Ernest changed the prize to a free night with Maybelline. Maybelline, of course, objected, so Ernest had to settle for giving Ernest paying guests a free foot rub. He got massage courtesy of the gentleman who would be playing a pig. Jack frowned at this trade-off. Okay, so that's where we're at. The play began promptly at 4, which that was the goal. Okay. In reality, the play did start at 4 that afternoon, but the acting didn't officially start until almost 15 minutes later, when the cast managed to direct the last few audience members to their seats. Unfortunately, because they were a small and independent acting troupe, they had to conduct their own seat management and getting started on the actual acting meant acknowledging that they could not admit any new guests, and given that they were trying to maximize their profits, they wanted to get in as many people as they could, including those who could not pay with anything better than whatever they were currently eating. Ernest had made the point that even bread was worth something in the streets beyond the marketplace, and they could probably find someone out there lazy enough to buy a piece of second-hand bread if it meant not having to walk all the stinking way to the bloody marketplace. It had worked in Havana, so it would probably also work here. Alrighty. Oh, almost 200 words right in that one little breath. Good job, friends. Thank you for your support. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Wasn't there a guy named William in here? Or no, William is going to be the villain. Not the villain, the foil. Sorry. Let's say Upton. Let's have a guy named Upton. Upton. Fallowwood. The actor that no one really knew or understood, but no one in the troupe really knew or understood, but was happy. Let's see, Upton Follow. The actor. Let's go back. Upton Follow was a member of the Happy Play Bodies, and perhaps the most forgotten player in the troupe. He was the one who would normally get the role of the pig if it weren't for Jack's snarky play with his own piece of bread the night before. Thanks to Jack's insurrection, Upton was now promoted to playing one of the shipmates to Ulysses, which meant he could now stand to Ernest's left rather than crouch on all fours at his feet. But it did not mean that he had graduated from his role as seat manager, which the actors collectively claimed was the worst job of the show. Upton argued that the worst job was actually cleanup after the show was over, which they were all responsible for, all but Ernest, of course. Ernest's side job was to schmooze with the rich guests in hopes of securing another night at the venue, and maybe get a smooch or two from the prettiest ladies in the crowd. But no one complained because they all understood that it was part of their economic survival. And Ernest, being the most dashing of the group, really had to play the part, even if he said he didn't, even if everyone else knew that he was really quite satisfied with his role. Upton, on the other hand, being the ugliest player in the troupe, understood that his role would always be to play the bad guy, including the bad guy who told new guests that they were too late and that they would have to come to tomorrow's show. Upton, Upton had to play that role even tonight, in spite of him not actually playing the bad guy on stage. Let's see. The others were finding their positions on stage when Upton had returned from the back of the, let's just call it the stands for now, and I'll come up with a better term later. Had returned from the back of the stands. See, the others were finding their positions on the stage when Upton returned. Sporting, let's see, with his hand over his eye, his left eye. He was cursing under his breath as he ascended the small steps leading up to the stage's surface when Ernest asked him what he was on about. Upton removed his hand to show Ernest his new black eye. How'd you get that, mate? Ernest asked. Bloke punched me because I told him to get lost. We were starting now. Did you say it that way? Exactly that way. Ernest nodded. All right. Change in plans. Where we only need one crewmate now. You've just been downgraded to pig. You get to wallow around with Jack over there. Have fun. Upton cursed under his breath as he put his hand back over his eye. Why, mate? I don't want to be in Jack's scene. Well, you upset the audience, you get the punishment. Upton skulked away to the shadow behind the curtain. I don't know if they have a curtain. Upton skulked away to the shadow behind the pillar that was holding the ceiling over this, holding up the ceiling over the roof. He crouched behind it as he rubbed his eye and sought refuge for the pain. Okay. Jack, of course, having nothing to do but to wait for the play to start, watched the whole thing unfold, and the result had already given him a bad feeling. He and Upton Followwood were pseudo rivals in that they always competed for the slightly better part. And now Ernest was putting them on equal field. Jack, as much as Jack did not want to play the pig tonight, he had at least taken some solace in knowing he would be the only pig, which would make him more memorable in the sights of the audience. Now he had to fight even for that, because Upton was a much uglier guy than he was. He worried that he would stand out more, taking away Jack's thunder. Let's avoid the cliches. How about that? Taking away Jack's prominence, and thus his opportunity to find a better life where people were to appreciate him more. It seemed that even as the pig, he would not get that recognition tonight. He cursed Upton under his breath. I hope you fall off a boat, he said. Regina, who was standing beside him glanced in his direction. He realized he had spoken just a little too loudly. He felt his cheeks heat up a bit. Regina rubbed his shoulder. We all feel that way, mate. Don't sweat it. Jack smiled. He was glad that at least one of the Brits liked him. He was even more glad, he's even gladder that Regina, the prettiest actress on the stage, and just one of two, was on his side. Let's see. Having a lovely lady in his corner had often sparked the butterflies in his stomach, which typically floated off into his head, where he could dream of happiness and sunshine on a warm summer day where everything get in position, Ernest told the group. Jack sprang to attention. He had started to daydream, which was not unusual given the fact that he had nodded off as often as a dozen times today. He was now beginning to feel the exhaustion in his head that having a night of interrupted sleep had given him. I had a day like that today, actually. I tend to have that fairly frequently. His attention was as good as the next 3 seconds of adrenaline, which do they even know adrenaline back then? Maybe, I don't know. I gotta see when adrenaline was discovered. His attention was as good as the next 3 seconds of adrenaline, which stayed spiked until Ernest bowed to the crowd. Or maybe which was spiked. Ernest bowed to the crowd. As they went down the line, one bowing after another. Let's see. Ernest in the middle, Regina beside him, Maybelline on the other side of him, then like a wave. Let's see, Jack, Oscar. Let's see. Yeah. Ignatius. And what the heck, Upton at the end. That 8 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then Upton and Fred at the ends. There's always got to be a Fred. All right. Jack's paying attention. He had started a daydream, which was not unusual given the fact that he had nodded off as often as a dozen times today. He was now beginning to feel the exhaustion in his head that having a night of interrupted sleep had given him. His attention was as good as the next 3 seconds of adrenaline, which was spiked until Ernest bowed to the crowd as they went down the line. After another, Ernest in the middle, Regina, Maybelline on the side of him, then like a wave, Jack, Oscar, Ignatius, with Upton and Fred at the ends. Jack felt the rush of blood enter and exit his forehead, forcing on him a slight headache that would likely grow as the evening progressed. He was at least glad that he did not pitch forward as he bowed, which was exactly what he had wanted to, or which was exactly what his body wanted to do. As hard as the stage, as hard as the wooden stage floor appeared, it did not look the least bit uncomfortable to a guy who was in desperate need for a nap. As soon as they all stood erect, the audience clapped, or at least the ones in the front did. The people in the back simply shouted obscenities at the 2 women. They were not likely here for the story. It was like that at every play that they had produced since going to the Carolinas. The stage was a simple platform in the middle of a loading area for cargo ships. When it did not contain entertainers, trying to mesmerize the crowd. It typically contained stacks of crates and stocks of small farm animals. Even now, the stage was full of chicken feathers where dockhands had failed to sweep the night before. The harbor master had told them that they could perform on the platform until the next boat arrived, which he expected would be sometime after dark. He told them that they should plan to wrap up their play as soon as they see the sun begin to dip over the horizon, facing the open sea. They certainly didn't have to mind the time, but the harbor master had made it clear that he would force them off the stage if they had not cleared it by the time the next ship docks. He had understood their business as long as they understood his. Okay. Ernest had agreed to the terms, and the rest of the cast had to agree with Ernest. They had planned on acting for about an hour, making the event manageable for everyone involved. Let's see. As the actors took their positions, they navigated around leftover boxes from the previous shipment. The happy play bodies considered it good fortune to have so many boxes and crates lying around, because now the stage looked like an actual boat or ship deck, which would help them sell the illusion better. It had also given them places to sit, so they would no longer have to pretend to sit on an invisible chair. Not one of them had been looking forward to the likelihood that they would have to exercise their upper thighs today. evening, ladies and gentlemen, Ernest said to the crowd. We are the Happy Play Bodies, and we tonight are going to tell you the story of Ulysses, the hero of Homer's The Odyssey. How many of you have ever read The Odyssey? The crowd was quiet. One man from the back told them to screw off. Right, so now we present to you the story of the Odyssey, so that you do not have to read. Enjoy. Ernest took his position at center stage while what are my names here? I've got let's see, Ignatius. He's not the first guy. Who's the other one? I can't find. Where are you at, people? Oh, it was way up here. All right. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. All right. Oscar, Ignatius, and Fred. While Oscar, Ignatius, and Fred all joined him in a tight group, the other four actors, including Jack, stepped off to the side where they could be forgotten. Hey, where are the ladies going? Shouted one guest from the back. Who we supposed to look at now? Ernest ignored the heckle and began his lines with his hand over his heart. Hark, the land. Should be an exclamation point. He said as he looked off toward the sea. I see shoreline. The other actors around him nodded and agreed. Yes, they said. We too see land. It is grand. It's already terrible. Oh my gosh. Yes, grand. Ernest stalked. Let's see. Stepped forward and took another bow. The higher paying crowd members were gathered at the front of the stage where they maintained the best view. Ernest was careful not to step on any of their feet. I see palm trees, and where there are where there be palm trees, there be food. Food, cried the others. Food, cried the crowd. You lick my feet, cried a man in the back row. Let's see. I think I'm here. Ernest put his hand to his ear and gestured the crowd to respond. Food, cried the closer crowd. Lick my feet, cried a man in the back row. His words were echoed among other members of the back row in the same wave pattern as the troop members had undergone during their bowing ceremony. Where there is food, said Ernest, there is satisfaction. Food, said the others. Food, said the closer crowd. Bite my balls, shouted the chorus of back row visitors. Ernest took a step back and mimed himself pulling a telescope out from behind him. Hark! I see more than food. I see women. Bring out the women, shouted the back row. They are dressed in very little tresses. The people in the back row were suddenly quiet, as if something sacred had just been passed among them. The people in the front row and on stage were no less hushed by the hallowed nature of what they were being promised. The two ladies then appeared off to the side of the stage, very dressed, very much dressed in their ankle length skirts and long sleeve blouses. The men in the crowd started to boo at the realization that these ladies were not actually underdressed, or were not actually dressed as promised. I see a boat, my lady, Maybelline said. It looks like it has men on it. Regina yawned. Fine, she said. I'll add them to my collection. Get me my sirens. So I don't know if I can't remember who actually has sirens. I think that's a completely different element altogether. But again, they're butchering the play on purpose, so it's not really pivotal. Maybelline stepped off stage and began to sing. Her song was loud and shrill. The men in the audience covered their ears. Make it stop, shouted a man from the back row. My ears are bleeding. Ernest, meanwhile, pretended to put his telescope away and stepped forward. Hark, I hear singing, he said. The play went on like this for about 10 minutes, with Ernest stating the obvious and the others mimicking or aping his actions and reactions. From the side of from the corner of the stage where Jack was awaiting his turn, Jack, let's see, about where he was awaiting his turn, Jack grew tired of watching all of the nothing happening before him, and he nodded off. He was uncertain how long he had been out when he felt the foot jabbing him in the ribs. Mate, Upton said, we're on. Get up there. Okay. All right, I think we're good. 2060 is our number today. So we're going to see what more we can do out of this. We really don't have that much more to do on the play. I just wanted to kind of get the sense that this is going badly and that the crowd was going to be upset. The idea is you want to get Jack to blame for it. So we'll see. He'll have to do something really, really screwy when it's his turn. But we can already see that it's not really off to a great start, and it's not going to be entirely his fault. It's just that it's a bad production, and that might be part of the commentary that they're making. I don't know, but we'll see where it goes tomorrow. But thanks for watching. Let me go ahead and just while we're thinking about it, update our numbers here. Our goal was 1,000 today. We did 2060, and so we are currently at 10,825. Okay, so we're 825 words ahead of par, so that's good. So we're still, if I keep up this pace, we'll hit 50,000 by the end of the month. So and that's what NaNoWriMo is about. Not bad. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Come back tomorrow. We'll have more.